Howdy. So some of you guys got into the Piggy Bank when it launched and some did not. And I could understand why. I did not have enough liquid and LP tokens to actually get even a piglet. Even went to go look at it a little too late after launch. Now there are some who got in just a few seconds even before the timer hit 0. Obviously 4X, a developer, can't time that down to the second, and so some people saw it was ready a few seconds early, and those people really did make bank because they got a lot of piglets right at the start before that price shot up with everyone trying to buy at one time. So that was probably really exciting for them. They're already kind of way ahead on that. Now myself, since I didn't have enough LP to hit it, I'm going to wait to enter the piggy bank for the moment. I'm still focusing on the drip garden and the drip faucet and what have you, and a little bit in the farm. But what is the piggy bank? What do I think about it so far? From what I've seen in the Telegram groups, the back and forth, my opinion at the moment is that piglets are kind of high. I'm guessing that plants started that way in the garden, and since this has a very similar mechanic to the garden, we're going to see that some similar type of decay, I imagine. It's just not going to be all at once. It's going to be steady like it's meant to be. If you think the drip garden's decay is flawed in some way, I think there's probably been some improvements made here, as well as this LP token is also really high right now, so we're not seeing that same kind of rapid decay we're experiencing in the garden that I hope will actually reverse in a few months and give us some profits. But something I think that's really cool about the piggy bank that's actually improving over the mechanics or the mechanisms of the garden is that he's added this time lock stake, this time lock staking mechanism. So you're getting that up to 3% daily ROI. You're getting that up to 3% daily ROI on your piglets that you've created here, which is equivalent to the plants in the garden. You got piglets and then truffles instead of plants and seeds. But it seems like the ratio is actually the same, so that that 2,592,000 seeds that you need, I think that's still the same amount of truffles for piglets. But piglets are more expensive right now. I think that LP token is, I don't know where it's at. I think the price of a piglet's probably somewhere around 70, 60. It's much higher than plants right now, and I don't even know if plants started off that high. They may have, and then there was just a rapid adoption and purchase, and then that decay hit. But so we were talking about this up to 3% daily ROI on your piglets, on your what we would say is the plants in the garden. And so this time lock bonus is really cool because there's so many people who were complaining about the rate of decay that was happening with the plants, and so I think this kind of gives you a chance to beat that even harder than you normally would with just compounding. Obviously, you'll have the option to compound if you're not actually time locking. You could still compound and keep earning that 3% or up to 3% based on how you're performing versus others in the system. But you also have this chance here where you can stake. Let's say I stake for 5 weeks. I'm getting an additional 12%. That, remember, is applied along the way to my principal, so it's not just tacked on to the end when we get to the end, but that exponential curve that he showed down here, it's getting tacked onto my principal as we go, where the last 25% of the time lockup we get a lot added at once, but so that first 75% of the stake we get 30% of my bonus multiplier added to the principal, and then every day, every 24 hours, you get to compound. You can see I have some truffles, but not enough to make a piglet, and it's not going to grow any because I don't even have one piglet generating truffles right now. I did not prepare enough funds to get in here on the day as I wanted to. I wanted to get in there and play around with it and try it out, but I'm just stuck with some ghost truffles that are not enough to make piglets until maybe piglets decay enough to where I could get a piglet with this amount of truffles. But I'm guessing we're not going to see that for a while, so I'm going to have to add some LP in to even get one piglet, which is why I'm working in the garden to get more pigs and such in the farms. But I digress. The point of this awesome time lock, though, is I think, look at the way these bump up. So if you went ahead and did, what was that, maybe 2 months, 12 months. So I'm getting my up to 3% daily ROI, and then I'm getting this 47% bonus. So this 47% bonus is actually figured into however many, it's figured off of however many LP you already have in there, well, however many piglets you're buying at this time, because you're staking and buying at the same time. So this 47% is figured up off of those piglets and then distributed back into the principal of those piglets, or into the truffles, I'm sorry, back into the, now I'm turning myself around here. Let me think. The amount of truffles being produced is where you'll see that. See, now I'm swinging myself around. Give me 2 seconds to think about it. Ah, okay, I took a moment to think about it. Yes, so this 47% is a bonus applied to the piglets that you're putting in here, and then that will be in the form of truffles. So that bonus percentage, when you compound every day, so every 24 hours, you get a chance to compound again, and you'll get those truffles back into piglets. You can only compound once a day, once every 24 hours, and so this amount of bonus is set aside at the beginning, and then every day that you compound, you get that day's portion of the bonus. Now, if you don't compound that day, you do actually lose the bonus for that day. So this is one of those things where you'll have to check in every 24 hours, and that was supposedly that was built in to encourage participation rather than just, sitting back, like setting this for 20 weeks and then not coming back to the ecosystem. It gets you back on the page, so you're more likely to check on your farms, your garden, maybe throw more capital back in if you like the way it looks. It gets you still participating. And I'm guessing when some of these new features roll out, as well as maybe that NFT game, metaverse game, all these things come out, they're gonna, the more that people are on the site getting back in here to compound, which may have been part of the reason the garden requires so frequent compounding as well. It just gets you back here. So every 24 hours, if you want your bonus, that portion of the 47% based on that exponential curve, you'll have to come back and compound, and you'll get that added amount of that bonus into the piglets that you're compounding, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty sweet that it's added along the way and not just tacked on to the end. So there's a lot of awesome potential here where you could be beating out that decay. Now, there is still going to be that decay as far as I understand it. You can see the ridiculous amount of percentages when you're this far out. But so that's something to think about, is that, sure, if you just did a straight percentage calculation of 3% a day plus this type of time lock bonus percentage, that's insane. You're not going to be making that amount. And the reason you're not going to be making that amount is that, what is this, 47 weeks? Yeah, let's look at that 30 weeks here. So if we're looking at 30 weeks, that is 210 days. So 210 days, and if there's a similar decay to the garden, then sure, you're getting that percentage on your truffles and buying more piglets, but it's probably going to be the same concept here. Well, not that one. It's going to be the same concept as here. How many truffles or how many LP does 2.592 million truffles equal? Well, that rate's going to slowly decline. Now, of course, remember that with the garden, this is more rapid because the LP was going down, and we may or may not see that with the Piggy Bank, with the Piggy Bank, depending on how much participation there is, depending on everyone's time lock stakes, depending on everyone compounding correctly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know all those variables, but we are going to see a decay in the same way, because he's mentioned multiple times, the developer, that it works like the garden. So I know we're going to see some type of decay. I'm pretty certain on that. So your ridiculous percentage here, this 616% on top of your up to 3% a day if you're compounding every day, once a day, it's not going to be what you would figure it would be from this point. But if it works similar to the garden, that compounding plus this awesome bonus should keep you past that decay. But I'm guessing it's going to be dependent on you hitting that compound button. So if you have 20 stakes in here, unless you want to trust some type of auto compounding robot that I'm sure someone will make if they haven't already. Unless you want to trust that, you're going to have to come in here every day on your 20 stakes. Maybe you made a ladder, you know, where there's a 1 week, a 2 week, a 3 week, a 4 week, or 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, however you did it. If you laddered up stakes from the beginning, you're going to have to come in here once a day and hit the compound, or you're going to lose that day's distribution of the bonus. So there are those positives there, that it keeps people interacting with the system. We've talked about that already. And so it does do that. And I mean, it's free income. It's free money if these work the way they should. And if the LP balance stays good or doesn't drop too much, this is still an amazing opportunity to make a lot if you have enough piglets to be enough truffles to then compound back in. You know, obviously, if you don't make enough truffles to make even a piglet, then it's going to work like the garden. You're not going to be able to compound that day, and I don't know if that means you do lose that bonus. That's the only question I have that I think needs to be clarified, and I'll have to ask around on the Telegram. If this is being distributed across each day that it's meant to, according to that exponential curve chart, if I've created a stake with such a small number of piglets that they don't make enough truffles for 1 piglet a day, or even 1 piglet a week, does that mean that all of those days I don't compound, I actually lose that bonus? Because in which case this bonus is an up to bonus and not really a per day. Or am I supposed to read this as, the rest being added exponentially in the last 25% of the time lock? Does that mean that all those truffles that just kind of get slapped on into the end, the last 25%, whether I could compound or not? The way he had explained it was that if you can't compound, or if you don't compound that day, you lose the bonus. So I think that's a question for Forex. If we can get that in the Telegram. If anyone ends up having an answer for that, let me know. But that's my question is, do I get my distribution percentage of the bonus that day if I do not have a compound button because I'm not making enough truffles? That's one of my main questions. But just glancing at this, looking at the way the whole coded system works, the mechanism in this protocol, I think it has a whole lot of potential. But obviously, full disclosure, I'm not staked. I'm not even making truffles because piglets. I don't have enough piglets. I didn't even have 1 piglet. I did get some referrals. That's why I even have a few truffles, my $4 worth of truffles, which is pretty awesome that someone used my link. I always appreciate that, even though I can't. I don't have enough to throw in here right now. And you can see right now, if you play with the input, by the way, you can kind of get a feel of how many LPs you need for piglets. So 1,000 piglets are about 2,559. Looks like 1 piglet. Kind of seeing where we could get to 1 piglet at. Like what the minimum was that a piglet would be. Yeah, about 2.6 of this pig's BUSD LP right now is about 2.6 of that is 1 piglet. If that helps you there. So yeah, I think this is a cool system. I think that addition of the time staking with rewarding people for locking up their money for that long and not withdrawing from that stake and only compounding is a pretty neat system, and making them come back once a day. You know what that also does? If you time lock your stake and you're trying to perform, remember that you're up to 3% daily ROI. That's based on, are you performing on par with the average user of the system? Are you on par or better as far as compounding ratio? So if you are only able to compound once a day on your stake, I mean, that kind of removes a lot of the guesswork that the garden had, right? I mean, you don't have to compound multiple times a day wondering if that's enough. You just pop in once a day, compound all your stakes, and move on. And I mean, if you're time locked, there is no other option there except to keep compounding those time locked staked. I don't think he has the emergency stake ending feature turned on yet. He's going to add that later, supposedly. So, I mean, you're going to be the average user, because the average users are, the only way you're going to drop below that is if you don't compound. So you miss like 4 or 5 days compounding, and now you're behind the other average users. You may not get the full 3% daily ROI, but you could still be getting your daily bonus, it sounds like, as long as you compound. And we still have that outstanding question as to whether that is still added if you don't compound that day. If you can't compound that day, I should say, because if you can compound and you don't, you're going to lose that bonus that day. I do know that was stated. So overall, I think this is a neat system. I'm not entered into it yet, and obviously none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you to go invest in it, but I'm optimistic on the way it works, and I'd like to see other people's thoughts, see if they actually make some money. I know those who got in super early that day on launch have already seen a huge return, and they don't even need a time stake, but I'm sure a lot of them did put long stakes. So here's hoping the LP balance stays and the decay doesn't hit them too hard. And if they compound every day, that might make some pretty rich people in a couple months. So we'll see how that works. So yeah, I'm eager to get in once I have some pigs. I'm farming a few pigs. They're just kind of clicking along over here. I've got 0.006 pigs, so that's going to take a while. I'm just mostly focusing on the garden and the faucet. But yeah, I think the piggy bank was a good addition. It's kind of interesting that it's essentially the garden. I mean, you almost think you could have just added the time lock stake feature to the garden, but I guess with something that's already established and plugging along, there's already people who are comfortable with this and have compounded a lot. And I think you wanted to add something completely new that kind of had like a hex feel or like a Rex feel, which is understandable, I suppose. So those are all of my thoughts on the piggy bank so far. Since I'm not invested in it, I don't have a lot to say as far as experiences, but I am interested in it. If I get some liquid and the LP that is actually enough to even snag me a piglet, then I might be looking into that further and will document when I invest. If you have already jumped into the piggy bank or have any extra thoughts on it, throw those in the comments. I'm sure we'd all love to kind of see and understand your experiences as well. Or if you're make a video log of it, which I always encourage, just because it generates more activity and is a good way for you to look back and see where you were, a month ago, weeks ago, wherever you ended up. Link to that. I don't consider that spam or annoying. Throw your video links in there if you have more information and you're talking about it and documenting your journey along the way as well. That's awesome. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you're getting some type of value out of these videos, watching me slowly march towards losing all my money or become extremely wealthy, or just somewhere in between where I get a few extra spending dollars. That's nice. We all love a nice fancy dinner now and then. But you guys have a good one wherever you are in the world. And once again, thank you.